Are you of the belief that winning is everything because no one remembers second place?
Or have you ever been given your best and still fell short of the goal? Today's topic is your best good enough?
Welcome to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Hart.
And I'm Taria Hodge.
And the big question is this: how does the average entrepreneur like us, who started with limited time, zero marketing budget, or little to no presence, get their authentic message into the marketplace and become a person of influence?
And what skills must you learn? And most importantly, who are you required to become to magnetically attract your divine client and build a loyal following? Welcome, welcome, welcome to Suzanne to another episode of the Influencers Journey Show. Oh my gosh, I am chomping at the bit for this topic. So this has been plenty of discussions for us.
I know it's a doozy. It's a really good one. And Taria, I remember when we had this conversation in the mastermind, and I don't know what we were talking about, but it led me to ask the group, is your best good enough?
Mhm.
Well, I didn't know the discussion that I was about to unleash, because people were like, yes, it is. It has to be. If you don't win, doing your best isn't good enough. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And when I started to challenge that statement, the discussion got even more heated, and people were definitely in their corners. And I was like, wow, this is cool. This is really exciting. However, I wanted to really get them to look at and get us to look at the mindset behind what you're actually saying to yourself, and the impact of it on your
Right.
potential success. So I am super excited because I'll never forget that discussion. It stays with me because it got heated.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember because I was on that mastermind session. But I will tell you what stood out for me. I remember when I think it was last year, when we were going through our launch. And oh my gosh, it was just one of those things where stuff just kept on happening and happening. And for me, I'm just like, man, I'm gonna go through this. I got my plan. I got it early. I'm crossing my T's. I'm dotting my I's. And I expected everything to go smoothly. And as we came through it, we just saw, all sorts of crazy stuff happen, stuff that never happened before. And I remember you having a conversation with me because, I was all in my feels about it. And then you said, well, Taria, this is the whole thing. I know you came to play full out and you did your best, and that's it. You just have to accept that it is what it is, and and let it be that. And I remember saying to myself, and I don't think I ever said it to you. You said the words, I heard the words, but in my mind, I was like, yeah, right. Uh-huh.
You don't really mean that. She got feelings.
So it's really something to sit and unpack, because I know it took me, I didn't go like right away to getting the concept. It took me some time to like really mull it over and really understand and embrace it. So I'm truly glad that we have the opportunity to sit down and bring the conversation to our super achievers.
It's such a valuable conversation, because I think when I got this, and I got it, being an athlete, I got it through sports, and there's nothing like training or practicing for something and knowing that you're ready and you're more than likely going to come out on top, and then something happens
Yeah.
and you have no control and you second guess yourself, and that was where I began to learn this whole thing: is your best good enough? Your best at times must be good enough.
Yeah.
But that's a hard concept to emotionally take in, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, I'm excited. So as you jump on, please let us know who you are, where on the planet you're joining us from, and what brought you out today. What was it about this conversation that had you go, oh, this is a juicy, because it's going to be. And please comment, light up the comment section. Let us know who you serve, what you do while you're living. ask questions. If something lands, let us know. If you're going like the mastermind group going, oh, heck no, what they talking about? Let us know that too, because that's what makes juicy conversation. If you're listening to the replay, get involved. Hashtag replay. Let us know you're listening to a replay. And then also let us know who you are, where on the planet you're joining us from, who do you serve, what brought you out, and light up the comment section.
Yeah. All right. And then also before we get started with our conversation today, take a minute to check the description because we have an amazing resource for you. It's called our Freestyle Speaker Playbook. And this is for the coach, the entrepreneur, the consultant, the author, the speaker who has a desire to get seen, recognized, and attract their divine client. And so in this playbook, it definitely gives you the steps to do that. So make sure that you check the link in the description and grab your freestyle playbook if you have not done so as yet. And then also, I'm going to say, take a minute to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And why do you want to subscribe? You want to subscribe because you want to be able to get the notifications every time we sit down and have our conversation so you can become a part of the discussion. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget, share this with another fellow super achiever.
All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am ready. Tria's chomping at the bit, she said, to get into this conversation. So for those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Hart, and I'm here with my girl, Taria Hodge, social media strategist. Our topic today is your best good enough? It is a brilliant question. And so, it's such an interesting concept because how many of you have had your parents ask you, did you do your best?
Yes.
Did you do your best?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, okay. Some parents are like, well, then it's good enough. And then you have other parents that are like, did you do your best? Yeah, well, your best wasn't good enough, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So we have those two schools of thought. My question really was to the mastermind is how do we hold it as a person? Because really, does it matter what other people are saying to us, or does it really matter how we interpret our best being good enough?
That's a really good question, Suzanne. So I think it's a twofold question, though. So I'm glad that we're sitting down here and we're unpacking it. So one of the things that came up for me when you asked the question, did you do your best? It's always that internal gut check thing, so sometimes it's easy like to let yourself off the hook and say, yeah, I did my best, but did you really do your best? And so if there's that feeling that comes up inside of the gut that you say, well, oh, you know what, I could have done this better, or maybe if I had taken the time to do this extra step or prepare. I always liking it to preparing. So I find that I do my best in my mind when I really take the time to prepare and lay stuff out. I feel like I don't do my best when I'm in the position where I think I have to wing something. And the more I feel like I'm winging something, then it's just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not on my best. I'm not on the top of my game.
Such a great foundation to start this conversation. So let's first define, what does it mean to do your best? And I want to go back to quick story. So last year of high school, I think, we're in this basketball tournament, and I have played all game and I've played most of the tournament. I am the team captain. And I remember coming into the huddle and my legs are so tired, they are burning. Have you ever had that experience?
Oh, yeah.
They are burning. And not that game is over. We are about to go into overtime. And all I want to do is sit down. But I'm the captain and I know we are this close. And so I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I guess I got to dig in. I got to dig in. I got to dig in. So we go back out. Everybody's tired. Everybody's exhausted, but we're going to give it everything we got. And we played brilliantly and still came up short. And we didn't win. We lost by 1 point. One. Those were the hardest.
Wow, those are the hardest ones.
1 point in overtime.
Oh God.
And we're a small team. Like everybody out in terms of height. Like I played center. If you that'll just give you an example. All 5 for me. And so I remember going back and our coach looking at us and saying, you gave it your all. You left everything on the court. Your best has to be good enough.
Mm.
Right. And I'll never forget that, because truly, we as a group of young women, young girls, did not have anything left to give.
Mm.
We were exhausted. We had played full out all tournament. We were done. And I always take that into my business. And if you know me, I love sports. I love sports analogies because that's where my foundation of my leadership started. And so for me, it is, did I prepare, as you said?
Mhm.
And you know, when you do, like if you do the drill, you do the prep. And I love to talk about with speakers, because a lot of speakers, the only time they want to speak is when someone's booked them.
Yeah.
And in our mind, you got to speak and speak and speak, and you got to get better and better and better. And the time to practice is not when you've been booked. The
Right.
time to practice is when you
Right.
aren't booked, and to speak on a consistent basis and hone your craft. So the first thing is, did you do what you need to do to prepare? I think the other thing is, did you push the envelope for yourself?
Mm.
Because some people get super comfortable in where they got their last accolades, right? Oh my gosh, you're so fantastic. You're so good at this. And they start to rest on their laurels. And now the sword, it's not being sharpened. So another part of doing your best is, am I always expanding and sharpening the saw, if you will, in this game that I'm playing? And then I think for me, it is, am I coming to it with an attitude that is a win attitude? Because how often have you gone into something defeated?
Oh, yeah.
We're not gonna win. And I always think of people who go to do presentations and they've done all the work, and then there's 3 people in the room, and then they do the hazard
Right.
presentation because the room isn't full, and they don't pay the respect and honor to the 3 people who did bother to show up, and you don't know who that person is. So it's all those things at play. Like, did I come ready? Am I growing myself? And did I give it my all, no matter what the circumstances? Did I play full out?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think for me, it's when I'm challenging myself, when I'm stretching myself, when I'm doing the prep, and when you come ready, like we all do. We know when we come ready. We know when we're coming like, I got this, I'm nailing it, I am ready. That's a different energy and attitude. So I think that's the first thing to doing your best. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, when you said something that reminded me of a conversation that I had with one of my girlfriends years ago. And I can't remember exactly now what we were talking about, but she said the same thing. Like, sometimes you can get so caught up living in the past. And by that, what she meant was, the things that you have done already, you have done them, you've accomplished them. So don't let that be the laurel that you sit on.
Yeah.
Always get up every day, and what's going to be the next thing that you're going to do? What's going to be the next accomplishment that you're going to achieve? And just keep working, to do more, to get better, to get better. And I remember this was, like I said, years ago, and she was one of my girlfriends, 10 years my senior. And of course, at the time I heard it, but I never really understood what she was trying to say to me, or what she was saying to me. And then as years went on, it stuck with me. And I was just like, oh, this is what she's trying to say. Like, don't live in the past. Every day is a new day for you to get up and do your best. And it reminds me of the thing that I had to unlearn as a kid. So as a child, we are taught good, better, best.
Mm-hmm.
So you do good, you strive to get better, and then you make your better best. And what I had to relearn is that no, you do your best. So give it your best the first time. So good is not the thing that you strive for. So you
Yeah.
do your best. And then when you take a look at the best that you could do, how can you turn around and make that best better?
Yeah, I know there's a author, Ratanjit Sanji, I think his book is Oneness.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things I remember when I read it, he's like one of the questions he's always asking his team is how do we make our best better?
Right.
Best, best better. And I think it's such a great thing because it challenges us to keep moving, to keep
Mhm.
expanding, to keep growing. So
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have a question for you because something is coming up for me. So we're talking about, having the ability to, do our best, no matter what the outcome is, just give it your best. And then whatever the outcome is, the outcome is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you fall short of the goal. But why is it that people give up when they fall short?
I think it is because we collapse failure with best, if that makes sense. So if I'm the best, I'm not going to fail. If I'm my
Okay.
best, I can't fail. I think we also, when we opened with the question that are you the person that needs to come in number one, needs to hit the goal, needs to do, and because second place is not even doesn't matter. And I think what we're really talking about here is if you go into anything with the attitude that failure is falling short, failure is not giving it your best, then I think it's gonna knock you out because then failure becomes not an opportunity, but it becomes this bad thing.
Mhm.
So I think because when we, sorry, educational system, but when most of us went to school, it was right and wrong,
Right.
right? You either got it right and you got it wrong. And I was watching a video the other day, and there was this classroom, and the teacher moved the kids around by test scores. And I thought, oh my goodness, talk about sending a message. So A's were at like high scores were at the front and lower scores were seated further and further back. And I
Mm.
thought, wow, what a message. Like, talk about imprinting, ingraining that you didn't do good enough. You're at the back of the line, like so on and so forth. And I thought, man, that's hard. That's
Mhm.
hard. And think of what people walk away with. Well, they walk away with is that if you fail, you're no good. If you fail, you're going to be at the back of the line. If you fail, people are going to not want you. If you fail, like all those different things. So I think when people fall short and they fail, they hold it as I am not good enough.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. And the reason we're asking the question is your best good enough? I think it really reminds us that if you came to the table and you did your prep and you did all that you knew in that moment, and you still didn't win, still didn't hit the goal, still fell short, then you got to celebrate that you're on the court playing the game, giving it your all.
Yeah.
And I think the key here is to stop and mindset, we always say lifelong learning, make your best better,
Right.
and go, what do I learn in this moment as I fall short that I can pick up that will give me data, information, insight, experience that helps me to propel forward best, better. And
Mhm.
I think unless you hold it that way, you are always going to be knocked out of the game. Because I think people really hold it that I failed, the world's looking at me and laughing. I failed, the world thinks I'm not good enough. I failed, I'll never be able to do this. And it is like, no, I failed, learn, I failed, learn, I failed, learn. And we hear the quotes. Michael Jordan says he failed more shots than he made. You hear the big entrepreneurs, they say Albert Einstein had more failed experiments than the one we know about, It only takes one. It only takes that moment where everything comes together. But things can only come together if we keep moving,
Yeah,
if we keep moving forward.
yeah, it's so interesting because as I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, one of the things that's popping up for me is, like you said, the contradictory messages that we send people, and or that's oftentimes outright, but sometimes subliminal in that kind of a way. So
Mhm.
I would hear people say, no one remembers the person who got second place. So,
Yeah.
so you're watching a competition, they would quickly tell you the only person that people remember is the winner. And so if you don't really understand how to train your brain, if you're not the winner, then you would really count yourself out. You would say,
Yeah.
well, somebody did better than I did. And so there's no need for me, to go on. And so I would say this, I am not I am not sports inclined. Let me just say that. I'm not sports inclined. So I've never played any sports in school, right? But I liken this to football. And one of the things that you will really understand, and it's not just football, but it's other sports too. You have two teams, they play against each other. The better team wins.
Hmm.
Other team, they don't just throw their hands up in the air and say we lost and that's it, I'm going to give up. What they do is they go and they review all the plays. Let's go and take a look at the game again, in the
Hmm.
book. Let's unpack it. Let's see what happened. Let's analyze this. Let's come up with a strategy that would allow us to, when we go back out again, that we are going to be better prepared, to put ourselves in a position to achieve the goal, right? And so that's the whole thing that I think if people are not careful, they kind of miss it because once again, the message can lay so heavy on the defeated side, but it's really the mindset and how you hold it. It's just like, yeah,
Absolutely.
you didn't hit the goal, but don't give up. Let's go back, come back, let's do a huddle like we did. Let's do a huddle. Let's analyze what's the new strategy and then move forward. And then you give it another go.
It's interesting because it brings me back to so much of my career. So admittedly, I'm not the smartest chick. So like I'm not book smart. So I'm just gonna put that out there. I've never arrived at a place with the most degrees, most accolades, most whatever. And but I'm often one of the most remembered people.
Mhm.
And I want to make this point because people don't remember me. They eventually remember me for what I've achieved. However, I'm never number one. Rarely ever am I number one. I'm probably one of the most determined,
Mhm.
the most think outside the box, the most I got an idea. Can we make this happen? Or I'm going to make this happen. And so people don't remember me per se because I've always been number one. They remember me because I move the needle.
Right.
And I will fail, get up, move the needle, fail, get up. People will tell you, and you know this, I don't like no, and I don't like can't. So I'm like, we gonna figure this out.
Mhm.
And so people remember me not because I'm number one. And I'm saying that because we say that people never remember second place. I'm not sure about that. I think people remember attitude.
Yeah.
I think people remember energy. I think people remember determination. I think people remember hunger. I think people remember those of us who get up, brush ourselves off, and move in the against all odds. When everybody says no, we say yes. When everybody zigs, we go zag. I think it's not about winning. However, it's more about how determined are you when you play the game.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well said. Well said. I like it. How determined are
Yeah,
you when you play the game?
game. Yeah, yeah. And when I so remember, Tria, my first few years in network marketing, when I tell you I was not good, I was bad. I it there was times I'm thinking, what am I doing? However, I am determined and I love to learn and I'm curious. And once I got past, hear this, once I got past my own ego, once I got past my own pride, once I got past my need to be right and my need to look good, I learned. I
Mhm.
started to learn. I started to fail, get up, learn, fail, get up, learn, fail, get up, learn. And it was that cycle that propelled me
Yeah.
forward. And soon I had one of the fastest growing businesses in the company at one point. And people were like, where did she come from? What happened? Like, who is that? And everybody suddenly knew my name. And I still wasn't number one. I was far from number one. What it was though was it wasn't easy, yet I kept moving.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I wanted this. And I think that is what we all need to give. I was looking to find my best. And when I found it, I was committed to making it better.
Yeah. And listening to you, I'm saying that's why we all love the underdog and our underdog story, right? So
Yeah.
the people who have the determination, not the ones that we perceive that has it all together and they come out shining, but is the people that, have to, or that put in the work, have the determination, put in the work, keep rising after they fall down a million times and keep going. Those are the people that become most inspiring to us.
And even as you're talking, I think it's a little bit dismissive to say that the only person that people understand remember is number one, because in my mind, number one was probably number 30 at some point.
Right.
And we're seeing them at the crescendo of this in this moment that they've worked so hard to earn. And they've gone from number 30 to number 28 to number, this. And then you see them, they're in the top 5. And then today's the day
Right.
they get to be number one. And we're celebrating them as number one. However, they have been on a journey. So to say no one remembers, number two, I would believe that number one was not once number 5. And so it's really dismissive of the process
Yeah.
of growth and determination and hunger and persistence that gets you to have your day as number one.
Yeah.
When we say things like that,
Mhm.
really.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why it's so important sometimes, to just sit and really unpack what it is that you're saying, or what it is that you're consuming that other people are saying, because if you don't really take a moment to really unpack it, then you'll fall into those traps. So I do have another question for you, my dear. So um we're talking about showing up and doing giving our best, giving it our all. And even in those times when we give it our all, we sometimes fall short of the goal. And the question becomes, what are the circumstances that create the opportunity for others to give us grace? And so, yeah, I'm going to tee it up because, of course, we both work together. We have teams that we work with. And so it's that dynamic. Okay. And so,
Yeah.
of course, as we sit down, we have our goals, we have our plans, we have our strategies, all of that stuff. And then it comes to doing the do. And like we're discussing, not every time things turn out the way how we want it to turn out. And then sometimes it's easy to go into the finger pointing and this and that.
Yeah.
So how does grace play into all of this?
That is such a good question. And I think it has a lot to do with, one is how we're known. And, my book, Leading with Character, is about the habits that create our character, right? So our character, our who we are known for is a sum total of what we habitually do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the first thing I want to talk about is grace is given when your character becomes consistent.
Mm.
For example, one is I am known for hitting deadlines. I'm known for being on time. I'm known for coming prepared. I'm known for delivering. If that's how people know you,
Mm-hmm.
and that becomes your character, how you're known, when you fall short, you will more than likely get grace
Mm.
because it's not the norm. I think even if you have great character and then it changes and you continuously fall short, because how often do we see people who are
Right.
living on their laurels, as you talked about, they're living in the past, and now they're no longer working to maintain that edge and they're starting to fall short. Well, you're not going to get the same level of grace if whatever you're doing becomes a pattern. So I think there's that simple part of the answer is whatever I have, how I'm habitually known will determine the level of grace I get.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think the other part is how people see you prepare and come to the game.
Mm.
So, and we talked about, as we were preparing, we talked about when I went to speak in Omaha, and I had my speech all prepared. I was ready to go. And as I sat in the room and listened to just all the audience, because I got to go early, so I got to listen. And as I sat there, all that kept nagging at me, Tria, was, "Ooh, you gotta go rewrite your talk." Now I'm a keynote. I'm opening the day. And as I'm learning and getting an understanding of who's in the audience and what's up, I'm
Right.
like, oh man, I'm close, but I haven't nailed it,
No,
given
no cigar.
what I'm learning. So that night I go back to my room and I start rewriting, drive myself a little nutso. But I eventually go, okay, this is it. I've nailed it, right? For me, that's the stuff that when I go the extra mile, when I do the extra pieces, is when I get grace. Because when you do a talk and you shift it at that time, it's risky. And it
Mhm.
could have gone anyway. I was like, hopefully I don't forget what I just rejigged when I take the stage. I nailed it. That being said, I think those are the places and moments where you get grace is how committed do people know you are? How much preparation you put in,
Yeah.
how seriously you take them. And what I mean by that is, and we train on this all the time when we do our speaker program, is that when a person, an audience, a client gives you the honor of trusting you with their time, their money, their hopes and dreams, and their open mind,
Right.
you got to honor that and take it with a weight,
Right.
right? Because they could have given it to somebody else. They chose to give it to you.
Right.
And if that's the case, you got to come to and make yourself worthy of their time. So I think for me, is grace is given to those who come prepared,
Yeah.
who honor the people who are giving them their time. They don't take it for granted.
Right.
Who are always sharpening their saw, and who come with an attitude of, we're going to win this, we're going to crush this, I'm going to give it everything I got, I'm going to leave it all here.
Yeah.
And I think when those people fall short, for me, it is easy to give them grace
Yeah,
because I can see, one is I can usually see the agony on them. And I know what they risked
yeah,
and what they put into it. And I think that's the difference. When someone doesn't play full out and just takes for granted what
right.
people give them, grace is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember a conversation that I was having with a colleague about the same thing. And that was a question, like, when do you extend grace? And I think grace, because at some point we all want to experience grace. And then if we want to experience grace, then we should be able to give grace. But it's how do you determine when grace should be given? And so one of the things that came up in our conversation was boundaries. So when you set out and you're working, especially on teams or even in relationships in our personal lives, it's easy, to give grace when you feel like you're being respected, like,
Mhm.
someone is not taking advantage of you. Like you said, it's
Yeah.
character, and something happens outside of their normal character. So then you have the ability to say, I noticed this is kind of unusual, for you. What happened?
What's going on? Yeah.
Going on? And then you have an amazing dialogue around it, and then grace. But grace, doesn't come when you feel like people are just pushing the boundaries or they're taking advantage of you. They have no
Mhm.
respect, for you, or what is it that you believe your values, and they just continue to cross that line. Then you find in those moments grace is hard to give. So I love how you just
Yeah.
summed it up, like it's looking at a person's character.
And we were having this conversation yesterday about the word sorry.
Mhm.
And I said that when someone says sorry to me, I'm good at forgiving. Like I'm like, yeah, no problem. However, behind that no problem for me is an expectation of a behavior change, an effort to make a change. And how have you ever had someone say sorry and then tomorrow they're back doing the same thing?
Mhm.
And then you when you talk about it, they go, oh, sorry. And then the next day, 2 days later, they're back doing the same thing. And in those cases for me, and people might be wondering, well, how does this have to do with if you're giving your best? Because sorry implies that you're going to do better.
That,
You're
yes, that you're
going to
gonna
do
do something
different.
different,
If
right?
I'm taking what you say seriously and I'm saying sorry, I'm implying that I'm going to give you my best at effort to do different. That's different than if I say, I'm sorry you're offended, but I'm going to do the same thing again because I may not agree with you. That's a whole different ballgame because I've been known to do that. I'm sorry. But truth be told, I will do the same thing again. I'm going to be totally upfront. I'm not going to say sorry and walk away going, well, I'm going
So
to do that same thing
I'm
tomorrow.
I'm listening and I'm smiling because it just popped into my head. And it's always the follow-up question to sorry, right? So what are you sorry for?
Sure. And what does sorry mean?
So sometimes if you don't get that clarification, then you'll find yourself in that loop. So wait a minute, are you sorry for the action, or are you sorry because I'm offended by the action, but you meant the action anyway? You
Or
said what you said,
are you
you
sorry,
know.
sorry you got caught? I called on it. And so it is I think this conversation really has us examine our commitment to best.
Right.
Because if your commitment to best is real, then best has to be good enough. And
Mhm.
it doesn't mean you don't get better tomorrow.
Right.
However, we got to question, is my commitment to
Yeah.
the best real?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So many things is going through my head right now. It's just like, oh my God.
Me, me and you both. We could go on forever on this conversation.
But let me ask you, I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit, because this is one of the things that came up as we were preparing for the show. And we're talking about making your best better. And how do you know, continuously have that on the top of the mind to do. And so I know you being the Mindset Mastery Mentor, you probably have a beautiful, brilliant answer for this. But how do you train your brain to always be in the pursuit of excellence?
I think one of the first things I learned pretty young and continue to learn is don't believe the hype and don't take the hype too seriously.
Okay.
And so it is easy to get caught up in accolades about how amazing and wonderful you are. And I appreciate them. They don't define me though. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing in this constant pursuit of excellence is to never think you've arrived.
Yeah.
Right. And then to never have the attitude like you know it all and that you truly are the best.
Right.
Because I think the moment you start sitting in that place, you've just lost your edge at being the best. So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing in terms of this pursuit of excellence is in my mind is a moving target, if you will.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if I look back 5 years ago, excellent is average to me now.
Yeah,
because I've grown, right?
Right.
Excellent. What was excellent 5 years ago has become the norm. It has become ease. It has become, oh yeah, I can do that in my sleep now. Like I remember when I first started talking and speaking, I had to concentrate on everything. What I need to do that. Now a lot of it comes naturally. And so to make my best better, it's more challenging topics. It's how am I going to express these things? It's really, how do I touch this audience in a way that really moves them? It's always doing the work to make better, not sitting on, oh yeah, I got the speaking thing down. Because I have it down for this moment and this time for this audience, but the next audience is not the same as the last audience. The needs of the next audience aren't the same. Can I get my hand on the pulse of the audience? Can I listen? Can I hear? Can I feel their energy? All those things. You got to keep working at it. So I think the excellence is knowing that my best today is not my best tomorrow. And that in order to find my new best, I am required to keep learning, keep growing, keep reading, keep being poured into, surrounding myself with people who stretch me, setting goals that stretch me, looking for the next level in whatever I'm doing. And I think it is in that pursuit of more, and I don't mean more things, and I don't mean more accolades, I mean more me.
Yeah.
Right? More expanded self, more, ability to deliver more me. That is when I am in excellence. And I think, in the Black community, we have this statement that we say, we've got to work twice as hard. And I remember when I was at a table with some friends and I said, I think that's a misguided statement. One is I don't want to work twice as hard as anybody. Also, I said to them, I have seen people work really hard standing in the same place. You've ever met those people?
Oh, yeah.
They slug it out. They're working hard. They're giving it their all. However, they're not growing.
Yeah, you could be working hard at the wrong things.
That's right. And being in the same place, right? So I and then wondering, well, why am I being passed over? Well, you're working hard, but you're not pursuing excellence. And I think when we're talking about excellence, excellence has an element of growth. Excellence has an element of continued expansion. So I believe that anybody who wants to create massive things and have fantastic results is required to pursue excellence not work
Mhm.
hard alone. And I'm not saying we shouldn't work hard, but working hard is not enough. Excellence is the demand that I grow.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, that's the whole thing. As we sit and we take a look at it, is always being in the pursuit of excellence. And I think that just sums it up when we say, do your best today and then strive to make your best better, then you're really pursuing excellence. Yeah.
Great,
I love
great
it. Great
summary.
answer.
Thank you. I have a question for you because I know this has been um a growth area for you. So what's the difference between giving your best and chasing perfection?
Oh
The
gosh.
word perfection, you know that word.
To sum it up, like really quickly and easy, is action versus inaction.
Oh, tell
So,
me more.
so here's the thing. I, perfection is such a tricky thing. And once again, it's going back to unlearning all of these things that we were taught,
Yeah.
as kids growing up and, in our experiences. So what I've found is in the moments that I focus on being perfect, nothing really gets done.
Mm,
It's that thing where you're in your head, you rework the same thing a million times, and there's no action, there's no movement.
yeah.
Okay? Until I realize that in order for me to move, I have to tell myself that I am going to do the best that I can do with what I have at this moment and take the action and do it and then commit to getting better. And so I always liken this to my journey in doing videos. And so when I first started doing videos, I tell my students in my mastermind this all the time. When I started, it was horrible. Okay. It was so hard. But the commitment for me was to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it. There were times, Suzanne, I didn't have all the fancy equipment that I have now. So some of my videos were very dark. I wear glasses.
Mhm.
People don't know. I've done videos in my glasses where I can't see and I'm all up in the camera. Horrible. Okay. I have done videos where people have asked questions and got me stumped mid-camera, mouth open, don't know where to go. From there and be like, can I, end the broadcast, which would
I
be the
just pulled the
equivalent.
camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which would be the equivalent of, can I hang up the phone now? But it's a thing. And I made the commitment to get better. That's the only commitment that I made. Like, I'm going to commit to getting better. And so once I made that commitment, it was less and less about me showing up perfect. I'm going to do the best that I can do today. And then after it's done, I'm going to go back and review the play. I'm going to go back and I'm going to review the videos. I like what we do here. And this is for super achievers. What a lot of people don't know. And I shared this with our mastermind the other day. Every time we do a show, we have a huddle after the show. And it's always, what's the one thing that you're going to work on for the next time? And so
Absolutely.
so that keeps me chasing excellence versus sitting in the place of perfection. And because once you go for perfection, you're in your head, you're going to rework it. And like I always say, you're 9 times out of 10, you're never going to release it. So when you sit and you look at the things that you try to be perfect on, those things never get released.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you say that because I know when a lot of people start working with me, the process that we use and I use for a lot of people is really scary. So I know most people would like to sit down and write this whole show out and say, "You're going to say this, I'm going to say that, we're going to," and I'm just like, what? And a great part of growth, and I remember when Sharia and I first started working together, and I'd say, I want you to get to the point where you throw away the notes, throw away the papers. I just
Mhm.
want to have a conversation with you on camera that's authentic, real, transparent, and captivating. And so we challenge ourselves every week to we have a planning session before we start, and we just kind of banter back. What do you think about this topic? Oh my gosh, that's good. And we banter back and forth, and we get a sense of kind of what we want to say, and then we go away. And
Yeah.
then the next day we open the camera and we have a conversation. And I share that because we do that because we're not living in perfection. We really just want to share an idea, and we're going to trust the process. However, what's been really neat is just watching, particularly you, Sharia, go from hanging on to the notes, I remember those days, to throwing away the notes. And then, I remember you going, oh, I'm starting to feel not so much in my head now. And to me now it's brilliant. It's just a fun conversation. That's a commitment
Mhm.
to just becoming better, to doing our best today and going, how do we get better? And that'll only happen if we both say yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I could say the same for you, right? Because even to watch you really take on the virtual space. So,
Yes.
being on front stage and talking to large, small, medium-sized audience and being able to still bring that brilliant here to the virtual stage and put in the work to make it still feel like as if, you know what, it's just Taria and I having this conversation, but you know what? There's an audience of people out there. So how do I bring my best? And I've watched
Yeah.
over the years continue to develop, hone in and develop your skills in that area as well. So that's
Mhm.
exactly, what we're talking about. So if we sit in the position where everything just has to be perfect, and when you do that, you tell yourself there's really no opportunity for you to grow. And there's always opportunity, for you to grow, but you won't see those things unless you get started. Like that's my mantra. Like just do it. I have a thing that I remind myself, so I share it with the super achievers. Like I tell myself I have to be willing to suck at it until I get great at it, So I
Absolutely.
have to be willing to be terrible and mess it up. And then once I mess it up, it's just like, oh, it can't get any worse than that. So the only way we could go from here is up.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Great answer. Great
Thank
answer.
you.
Action versus inaction. That's a great sum it up, right? Action versus inaction. So I'm thinking, what will be the message that we leave everybody with? And I think I'm gonna say, don't sit in the bleachers waiting for the perfect moment. Just get on the court, play the game, and trust the process.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Suzanne, it has been, as always, I keep saying it at the end of every episode. It's always great sitting down, having these conversations and bringing them to the forefront because these are the commitment behind the show is to bring these conversations to our super achievers. So all of the things that we discuss and we bring out forward facing conversations are things that we actually work through together in our real lives. So once again, thank you for, just giving me the opportunity and trusting me with the space.
My pleasure, and likewise, thank you for just being willing to go on the journey and say, we're going where? We're doing what? Yeah, we're just doing it. So everyone, all you super achievers out there, thank you so much for joining us. Again, light up the comment section. Let us know what you're taking away. We will be back here 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week, Thursday. Until we meet, please know you are brilliant. Know you are oh so very special. And we do this work because the world is waiting. The world is waiting for your unique gift, your gift to be put into the marketplace. Blessings, and talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.